Welcome to Luxury Empire Stories.
He threw the pen at her and laughed. "Sign it, Sophia. I'm tired of dragging you along. You're plain, you're poor, and you're embarrassing me." Liam Harper thought he was trading up. He thought getting rid of his quiet, unassuming wife was the key to his rise on Wall Street. But he made one fatal calculation. He didn't know that the plain woman he was mocking wasn't just Sophia Harper. She was Sophia Blackwood, the runaway daughter of the world's most reclusive trillionaire, and that divorce decree, he just signed away his safety net. Watch what happens when a man accidentally declares war on the woman who owns his future. The fluorescent lights of the 24-hour diner on 10th Avenue buzzed like a dying insect. It was 11:30 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday in New York City. The setting was deliberate. Liam Harper didn't want to do this at their apartment. He didn't want a scene where the neighbors could hear. He wanted public humiliation, but just enough to keep her quiet. Liam adjusted his silk tie, an Hermes, bought by his mistress, though he'd never admit that to the woman sitting across from him. He looked at Sophia. She was wearing a grey cardigan that had seen better days, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, her hands wrapped around a mug of cheap coffee. She looked small, defeated. "It's standard, Sophia," Liam said, his voice smooth, practicing the tone he used on junior analysts at the firm. "Irreconcilable differences. It's the cleanest way." Sophia didn't look up. Her finger traced the rim of the mug. "Is it Isabella?" Liam scoffed, leaning back in the vinyl booth. "It's not about another woman, Sophia. It's about us. Look at you. Look at me." He gestured to his bespoke suit, then vaguely at her entire existence. "I'm a senior VP at Sterling Vanguard now. I have dinners with senators. I have galas. And you're happy managing a bookstore that smells like mold." "I like books," she whispered. "You like mediocrity." Liam snapped, slamming his hand on the table. A few patrons looked over. He lowered his voice, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. "Let's be real. I married you when I was an intern. You were safe. You were comfortable. But I've outgrown you. A shark doesn't swim with a goldfish, Sophia. It eats it." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. He slid it across the greasy table. "What is this?" she asked. "Divorce papers and a check." Sophia stared at the check. It was for $5,000. $5,000! She looked up, her blue eyes watery. "We've been married for 6 years, Liam. I paid your rent while you were studying for the CFA. I paid for your first suit. And consider this a reimbursement with interest." Liam laughed, a cold, dry sound. "Take it. Buy some new clothes. Maybe get your teeth fixed. Start over somewhere. Far away. Like New Jersey." He uncapped a Mont Blanc pen and shoved it toward her. "Sign the papers, Sophia. Don't make me get the lawyers involved. You can't afford them, and I'll bury you in legal fees until you're living in a cardboard box." Sophia looked at the man she had loved. She saw the ambition that had rotted his soul. She saw the arrogance of a man who had tasted a little bit of money and thought he was a god. She took the pen. Her hand didn't shake. "You really think I'm holding you back?" she asked softly. "You're an anchor, Sophia, and I'm trying to fly." "Okay," she said. She signed her name with a flourish that seemed too elegant for a bookstore manager. Sophia Harper. She pushed the papers back. She didn't touch the check. "Keep the money, Liam," she said, her voice suddenly steady, devoid of the sadness from moments before. "You're going to need it more than I will." Liam snatched the papers, checking the signature, always trying to have the last word. Pathetic. "Goodbye, Sophia. Don't call me." He threw a $20 bill on the table for the coffee, stood up, and walked out into the rain without looking back. He felt lighter. He was free. He pulled out his phone and dialed Isabella. "It's done," he told her, stepping into an Uber. "I dropped the dead weight. The penthouse is ours." Inside the diner, Sophia watched the taillights fade. She took a sip of the cold coffee. Then she reached into a worn tote bag and pulled out a phone. It wasn't the cracked iPhone she used around Liam. It was a sleek, satellite-secure device with no brand markings. She dialed a single number. "Status?" A deep voice answered instantly. "He signed," Sophia said. Her voice was no longer soft. It was cold, commanded, and patrician. "Initialize protocol homecoming. And tell Daddy I'm sorry I made him wait." Liam Harper's life improved immediately. Or so it seemed. 2 weeks after the diner, he was moved into a glass-walled corner office at Sterling Vanguard. He was living with Isabella, a marketing director who dressed in Prada and spoke fluent corporate buzzwords. They were the power couple he had always envisioned. "You did the right thing, babe," Isabella cooed, adjusting his tie as they prepared for the morning meeting. Sophia was sweet in a rustic way. But she wasn't this. She gestured to the sprawling view of Manhattan. "She was a peasant," Liam joked, checking his Rolex. "I don't know what I saw in her." Meanwhile, 3 miles uptown, the atmosphere was very different. On the top floor of the Blackwood Tower, a building that didn't appear on standard tourist maps and required 3 different keycards just to access the elevator lobby, Harrison Blackwood sat behind a desk made of mahogany from a tree that went extinct in the 19th century. Harrison was a legend. He didn't just have money, he had history. He controlled shipping lanes, rare earth mines, and through a web of shell companies, the majority share of Sterling Vanguard, Liam's firm. The heavy oak doors opened. Sophia walked in. Gone was the grey cardigan. Gone was the messy bun. She wore a tailored white suit that cost more than Liam's annual salary. Her hair was a cascading wave of gold, her skin glowing with the kind of health only billion-dollar dermatologists can provide. She looked like a queen returning from exile. "Sophia," Harrison said, standing up. He was a hard man, but his eyes softened for his only daughter. "The experiment is over?" "The experiment is over," Sophia confirmed, kissing his cheek. "I told you 6 years ago. You wanted to live like normal people. You wanted to find love that wasn't about the money." Harrison sat back down, steepling his fingers. "And what did you find?" "I found that some normal people are wonderful," Sophia said, pouring herself a glass of sparkling water. "And some are parasites." Harrison pressed a button on his desk. A holographic screen flickered to life on the wall. It displayed a dossier. Subject, Liam Harper. "He's a climber," Harrison noted, reading the file. "Mediocre talent, high narcissism. He's currently leveraging his new single status to charm the board of directors. He's pitching a risky merger with a tech firm in Silicon Valley." "He doesn't understand the tech sector," Sophia said dismissively. "He just likes the buzzwords." "He treated you like garbage, Sophia," Harrison growled. "Give me the word, and I will have him fired, blacklisted, and evicted by noon." Sophia walked to the window, looking out over the city. She could see the Sterling Vanguard building in the distance. "No," she said. A small, dangerous smile touched her lips. "That's too easy. He told me I was a goldfish. He thinks he's a shark." She turned back to her father. "I want to buy the tank, Daddy. I want him to think he's winning. I want him to climb so high that when he falls, he has time to think about every mistake he made on the way down." Harrison grinned. It was a terrifying look. "That's my girl. What do you need?" "I need a position," Sophia said. "Sterling Vanguard is looking for a mysterious external consultant to vet the tech merger, right?" "They are. The board is terrified of making a bad move." "Appoint me," Sophia said, "but not as Sophia. Use my middle name. Introduce me as Miss Rose, the representative from the Blackwood Trust." "He won't recognize you?" Sophia laughed. "He never really looked at me, Dad. To him, I was just furniture. Besides," she pulled a pair of thick-rimmed designer glasses from her pocket and put them on. She changed her posture, standing taller, radiating icy authority. "He's expecting a victim. He won't recognize the executioner." 3 months passed. Liam Harper was flying. The divorce was finalized. He had erased Sophia from his life as easily as deleting a file. He and Isabella were the darlings of the midtown social scene. He had leased a Porsche 911. He was drinking 30-year-old scotch. But at work, the pressure was mounting. The merger with Omnitech was his baby. If it went through, he'd make a $10 million bonus. If it failed, the firm would lose billions, and he'd be finished. "We have a problem," his boss, Marcus Thorne, said one morning. Thorne was a sweaty, nervous man who knew that the real power lay with the silent shareholders. "What problem?" Liam asked, kicking his feet up on his desk. "The numbers are solid. The Blackwood Trust," Thorne whispered the name like a curse. "They own 40% of the voting stock. They've been silent for decades, but suddenly they've taken an interest. They're sending a proxy to audit the deal." Liam rolled his eyes. "So, we dazzle them. Who is it? Some dusty old lawyer?" "We don't know. Her name is Miss Rose. She's arriving today at 2 p.m. Liam, you need to be sharp. If Blackwood says no, the deal dies." "Relax, Marcus," Liam soothed, checking his reflection in the window. "I can charm anyone. I'll have this Miss Rose eating out of my hand by 2:15. At 1:55 p.m., the Sterling Vanguard conference room was tense. The entire executive board was present. Liam sat at the head of the table, rehearsing his opening lines. Isabella, who worked in the same building, snuck in to whisper in his ear. "Get this bonus, and we can look at the Hamptons house," she hissed. "Consider it bought," Liam winked. At 2 p.m. sharp, the double doors swung open. The room went silent. 2 massive bodyguards in black suits entered first, scanning the room. Then she walked in. She wore a charcoal power suit, tailored to within an inch of its life. Her heels clicked on the marble floor like gunshots. Her hair was different, blonder, sharper, and she wore thick, intimidating glasses. But the most striking thing was her aura. She didn't walk, she glided. She carried a tablet and a gold pen. Liam stood up, flashing his best, winning smile. "Miss Rose, welcome. I'm Liam Harper, the senior VP leading this—" She didn't stop walking. She didn't even look at him. She walked past his outstretched hand and took the seat at the opposite end of the table, the seat reserved for the CEO. She placed her tablet on the table and finally looked up. Her eyes locked onto Liam's. For a second, Liam felt a strange shiver, a sense of déjà vu. Those blue eyes. He had seen them crying over cheap coffee. But these eyes weren't crying. They were cold, calculating, and amused. No, he thought. It can't be. Sophia is in New Jersey wearing rags. This woman is royalty. "Mr. Harper," she said. Her voice was deeper, modulated, stripped of the softness he remembered. "You may sit down. I've reviewed your proposal. It's adorable." The board gasped. Liam's face flushed red. "Adorable, Miss Rose. With all due respect, this is a multi-billion-dollar acquisition." "I'm aware of the price tag," she cut him off. "I'm talking about the due diligence. It reads like a fairy tale. You've projected revenue based on technology that doesn't exist yet." She tapped her tablet, and the main screen in the room lit up with Liam's financial models, covered in red ink. "Who did this math?" she asked, looking around the room. "An intern?" "I did," Liam snapped, his ego bruising. "And it's sound. It's optimistic incompetence," she countered calmly. "But I'm willing to be proven wrong. You have 1 week, Mr. Harper. 1 week to prove to me that this company isn't a sinkhole. If you can't, I will recommend that the Blackwood Trust liquidates its position in this firm, which would, effectively, bankrupt all of you." She stood up. The meeting had lasted 3 minutes. "Miss Rose," Liam stammered, sweating now. "Please, let's discuss this over dinner. Let me explain the nuances." She paused at the door. She turned slowly, looking him up and down with the exact same expression he had used on her in the diner. "I don't dine with employees, Mr. Harper," she said, "especially not ones who smell like desperation." As she walked out, Liam collapsed into his chair. The board was staring at him. "Fix this, Harper," Marcus Thorne hissed, "or you're dead." In the hallway, Sophia walked towards the elevator. Once the doors closed and she was alone with her bodyguards, she allowed herself a smile. "Step 1 complete," she whispered. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her father. "How was the shark?" She typed back, "Bleeding." The Sterling Vanguard annual charity gala was the most important night on the New York social calendar. It was held at the Met, a sprawling display of wealth disguised as philanthropy. For Liam Harper, this wasn't a party. It was a battlefield. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror in the penthouse he could barely afford, adjusting a diamond-encrusted cufflink. His hands were shaking slightly. It had been 4 days since Miss Rose had decimated him in the boardroom. 4 days of no sleep, frantically trying to rewrite financial reports that were fundamentally broken. "Are you listening to me?" Isabella's voice whined from the bedroom. She walked in wearing a red dress that was too tight and cut too low. It screamed attention, not class. "I'm listening," Liam snapped, grabbing his tuxedo jacket. "I said, why can't I sit at the head table with you? You said we were going to debut as a couple tonight." Liam spun around, his eyes cold. Plans have changed. The Blackwood representative, Miss Rose, will be at the head table. I need to focus on her. You will sit at table 14 with the junior associates. "Table 14? Isabella shrieked. "That's near the kitchen. Liam, I'm the future Mrs. Harper." "You're a liability right now," Liam roared. The silence that followed was heavy. He took a breath, smoothing his hair. "Look, Isabella, this woman holds my career in her hands. If I don't charm her tonight, there is no bonus. There is no penthouse. There is no us. Do you understand?" Isabella pouted, crossing her arms. "Fine, but you better make it up to me." Liam didn't answer. He was already checking his phone, looking for intel on Miss Rose. There was nothing. No social media, no LinkedIn, no photos. She was a ghost. The Met was bathed in golden light. Waiters circulated with trays of caviar and champagne. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Liam navigated the room like a shark, shaking hands, flashing his smile, but his eyes were scanning the crowd. He saw Richard Sterling, the CEO, looking pale and sweating near the ice sculpture. "Where is she?" Liam whispered, sidling up to his boss. "She's late," Richard murmured, wiping his brow. "Or maybe she's not coming. Maybe she's already decided to kill the company." Just then, the chatter in the room died down. It happened in a wave, silence spreading from the entrance like a ripple in a pond. At the top of the grand staircase stood Miss Rose. Tonight, she wasn't wearing a business suit. She was wearing a midnight blue gown made of silk that seemed to flow like liquid water. It was backless, showcasing a posture of regal defiance. She wore a Venetian masquerade mask encrusted with sapphires, hiding the upper half of her face, but her lips were painted a deep crimson. Around her neck hung a diamond necklace that looked heavy enough to sink a ship, the Star of the North, a piece rumored to belong to European royalty. Liam felt his breath hitch. She was terrifying. She was magnificent. She descended the stairs alone. The crowd parted for her. Liam downed his scotch and straightened his tie. Time to work, he thought. Charm mode activated. He intercepted her at the bottom of the stairs, extending a hand. "Miss Rose," he said, his voice dropping an octave to what he thought was a seductive tone. "You look devastating." She looked at his hand, then up at his face. Behind the mask, Sophia's eyes narrowed. She recognized the cologne. It was the same one she had bought him for his birthday 3 years ago. "Mr. Harper," she said, ignoring his hand and walking past him towards the bar. "I see you're spending your bonus before you've earned it. That tuxedo is custom Tom Ford, isn't it?" Liam scrambled to catch up. "You have a sharp eye. I believe in dressing for the job you want." "And what job is that?" she asked, ordering a sparkling water with a twist of lime. "Emperor." "Partner," Liam corrected, leaning against the bar. He tried to invade her personal space, a tactic that usually worked on women. "Look, Miss Rose, we got off on the wrong foot. I know you think I'm just some arrogant suit. But I'm passionate. I built my department from the ground up. Did you? Sophia asked, turning to face him. Or did you build it on the backs of support staff you underpaid and wives you neglected? Liam froze. Excuse me? I've done my research, Liam. She used his first name, making it sound like an accusation. I know about your recent divorce. It's quite the topic of conversation in the city. Dumped your wife the moment you got the VP promotion? Liam laughed nervously. He needed to spin this. He needed to make himself the victim. It's complicated, he sighed, looking down into his glass. My ex-wife, Sophia. She was a sweet girl. But she was simple. She didn't understand this world. She didn't have the drive. It was like pulling a dead weight uphill. I tried to elevate her, but some people just belong in the background. Behind the mask, Sophia's face remained stone still, but her heart hammered with a cold, focused rage. Simple. Dead weight. Background. It must have been very hard for you, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm that he mistook for sympathy. It was, Liam nodded eagerly. I need a partner who challenges me. Someone with fire. Someone like... Well, I don't want to be forward. But someone like you. He reached out and touched her arm. Sophia didn't pull away. She leaned in, her voice a whisper. You think you can handle someone like me, Liam? Try me, he challenged, his ego flaring. Very well, she said. The charity auction is starting. There's a painting coming up. Lot 45, a seascape. I want it. But I don't want to bid myself. It's vulgar to wave paddles around. I'll get it for you, Liam promised instantly. Consider it a gift, a gesture of goodwill for the merger. Careful, Liam, she warned. It might get expensive. Money is no object when it comes to quality, he smirked. 10 minutes later, the auctioneer announced Lot 45. It was a moody, dark painting of a storm at sea. It wasn't particularly famous, but it was striking. Bidding starts at $10,000, the auctioneer boomed. Liam raised his paddle. 20,000. A bidder across the room raised. 30. 40, Liam countered, winking at Miss Rose. 50. 60. The price kept climbing. Liam was sweating. He only had about 80,000 in liquid cash available without dipping into lines of credit he couldn't afford. 100,000, the rival bidder shouted. Liam looked at Miss Rose. She was watching him, her blue eyes unreadable behind the sapphire mask. She raised an eyebrow as if asking, Is that all you have? Liam felt the heat of the room. He couldn't lose face. Not now. 150,000, Liam screamed. The room gasped. It was way over market value. Going once, going twice. Sold to Mr. Harper. Applause broke out. Liam slumped in his chair, smiling weakly. He had just spent next month's rent, his car payment, and maxed out 2 credit cards. You were magnificent, he said to Miss Rose, hoping for a thank you. Sophia looked at the painting being carried off the stage. It's a lovely painting, she said coolly. My father painted it when he was in his blue period. It's been gathering dust in our basement for years. I'm glad you bought it. The proceeds go to a charity for displaced homemakers. Poetic, isn't it? Liam's smile faltered. Your father painted it? Yes, she stood up, smoothing her dress. Thank you for the donation, Mr. Harper. I'll see you in the boardroom on Monday. I expect the Omnitech files to be perfect. Don't disappoint me. She walked away, leaving him with a $150,000 bill for a painting created by the man who was about to destroy him. From the shadows of Table 14, Isabella watched the whole exchange, her eyes narrowing. She took a picture of Miss Rose on her phone. Who are you? She whispered to herself. And why does your chin look exactly like Sophia's? Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Liam sat in his office, staring at the $150,000 invoice on his desk. He felt sick. He had called his bank 3 times. They had frozen his accounts pending a security review due to the unusual transaction size. To make matters worse, the Omnitech deal was falling apart. Liam had spent the weekend trying to patch the holes in the data Miss Rose had pointed out, but the more he dug, the more inconsistent the numbers looked. The tech company claimed to have a revolutionary AI processor, but there were no patents filed. The revenue streams were circular, Company A paying Company B, which paid Company A. It looked like a Ponzi scheme. But Liam had already sold the board on this deal. If he backed out now, he looked like an idiot. If he pushed it through and it was fake, he went to prison. He needed leverage on Miss Rose. He needed to make her back off so he could restructure the deal quietly. He picked up his burner phone and dialed a number. "Vinny," Liam said, "I need you to dig." Vinny was a private investigator who usually handled jealous husbands, but he wasn't afraid of dirty work. "Who's the target?" Vinny grunted. "She goes by Miss Rose. She represents the Blackwood Trust. I need a real name. I need dirt, scandals, affairs, secret children, anything I can use to blackmail her into silence." "Blackwood Trust?" Vinny paused. "That's big league, Liam. That's dangerous money. Just do it. I'll pay double, triple, and cash up front." "Fine." Liam hung up. He felt a temporary sense of control. Everyone had secrets, even high and mighty representatives of trillionaires. While Liam was plotting, Sophia was in the executive suite on the 40th floor, a temporary office Richard Sterling had terrifiedly vacated for her. She was on a video call with her father, Harrison Blackwood. "He bought the painting?" Harrison laughed, a deep, booming sound that shook the speakers. "The one I did of the lake house. I hated that thing. The perspective was all wrong." "He paid $150 for it," Sophia smiled, sipping green tea. "He thinks he's charming me." "And the Omnitech trap." "He's squirming," Sophia said, watching the security feed from Liam's office on a second monitor. She could see him pacing, loosening his tie. He realized the numbers are fake. Now he has a choice. Come clean to the board and admit he didn't do his due diligence, or try to cover it up. What do you think he'll do? He's a narcissist, Dad. He'll cover it up. He'll try to force the merger through to get his bonus, hoping he can fix the mess later. And when he does? "Then I have him for fraud," Sophia said softly. "Corporate negligence, insider trading. I won't just fire him. I'll make sure he never works in finance again. I'll make sure he can't get a job as a bank teller." "Good," Harrison said. "But be careful, Sophie. A cornered rat bites." "I'm wearing boots," she replied. Suddenly her intercom buzzed. It was her personal security chief, a man named Cale. "Miss Rose," Cale's voice was urgent. "We detected an inquiry. Someone is running a deep background check on you. Tapping into the state databases, looking for birth records associated with the alias Rose." Sophia's eyes went cold. "Source? A low-level PI named Vinny Moretti, hired by a burner phone located in Liam Harper's office." Sophia leaned back in her chair. "He's trying to blackmail me." "Permission to shut it down?" Cale asked. "No," Sophia said, a new plan forming in her mind. "Let him dig, but guide his shovel. If he wants to know who I am, let's give him a hint. Feed the PI a lead. Tell him that Miss Rose meets with a secret contact at the old bookstore on 10th Avenue tonight at midnight." "The bookstore?" Cale asked, confused. "Your old workplace?" "Exactly. It's poetic. Liam hated that place. Let's see if he recognizes it." At 11 p.m., Vinny called Liam. "I got something," the PI said, sounding out of breath. "This lady is a ghost, Liam. High-level encryption. But I found a breach. She has a routine. Every Monday at midnight she goes to a dumpy location on 10th Avenue, the Dusty Page bookstore." Liam frowned. "The bookstore? My ex-wife used to manage that place. Maybe this Rose woman is meeting a lover there, or doing a drug deal. I don't know, but she's going there tonight." Liam's mind raced. Why would a high-powered executive go to Sophia's old bookstore? Was it a coincidence? Or... A terrifying thought crossed his mind. Did Sophia know Miss Rose? If Sophia had somehow complained to the Blackwood Trust, if she was suing him. "I'll handle this," Liam said. "Good work." He grabbed his coat and a taser he kept in his desk drawer. He didn't know what he was going to do, but he needed answers. The rain was pouring down on 10th Avenue, just like the night of the divorce. Liam parked his Porsche a block away and walked to the bookstore. The closed sign was flipped, but the door was unlocked. He stepped inside. The smell of old paper and vanilla hit him. It smelled like her. Like Sophia. The shop was dark, lit only by the streetlights outside. "Hello?" Liam called out. "Miss Rose." "You're trespassing, Liam," a voice came from the back of the store. Liam walked towards the voice. In the reading nook, sitting in a velvet armchair, sat Miss Rose. She was wearing a trench coat and her sapphire mask. "What are you doing here?" Liam demanded. "Why this place? Did my ex-wife send you? Is she trying to get more money?" Miss Rose stood up slowly. She walked toward him. "You really don't see it, do you?" she asked. "You look, but you don't see." "See what?" "Take off the mask. I'm tired of these games. I know you're hiding something. Who are you?" She reached up. Her hands hovered over the mask. "You want to know who holds the keys to your kingdom, Liam? Yes. You want to know who you've been trying to impress, who you've been lying to? Yes!" She pulled the mask off and threw it on the floor. She shook her hair out. It was Sophia. But not the Sophia he knew. Her eyes were fierce, her chin held high. Liam staggered back, hitting a bookshelf. Books tumbled down around him. "Sophia," he whispered. His brain couldn't compute it. No, this is a joke. You're poor. You're a nobody." "I was never poor, Liam," she said, stepping closer. "I was discreet. I wanted to be loved for me, not for the Blackwood name." "Blackwood?" Liam's face went white. "Your last name is Harper. Or whatever it was before." "My mother's name was Harper," Sophia said. "My father is Harrison Blackwood." Liam fell to his knees. The name echoed in his head. Harrison Blackwood, the trillionaire, the owner of the firm, the man who could buy countries. "I married a Blackwood," he gasped. "And you divorced a Blackwood," Sophia corrected coldly. "You threw a Blackwood away for a check of $5,000 and a marketing assistant." "Sophia, please," Liam scrambled up, reaching for her hands. "Baby, I didn't know. If I had known." "If you had known, you would have loved the money. Not me." She slapped his hands away. "That was the test, Liam, and you failed it so spectacularly that it's almost impressive. We can fix this," Liam pleaded, tears mixing with the rain on his face. "I still love you. The divorce papers. I can tear them up. We're still married in my heart." Sophia laughed. It was a dark, hollow sound. "The divorce is final, Liam. But the destruction? That's just beginning." She pulled out her phone. "You have a board meeting tomorrow morning to finalize the Omni-Tech deal. I'll be there, and I'm going to introduce the board to the real me, and then I'm going to show them your fraudulent financial reports." "You can't," Liam whispered. "I'll go to jail." "You should have thought of that before you called me a goldfish," she whispered back. She turned and walked towards the door. 2 bodyguards stepped out of the shadows, blocking Liam from following. "Sleep well, Liam," she called over her shoulder. "It's your last night as a free man." She stepped out into the rain, leaving Liam alone in the dark, surrounded by the books he had mocked, with the realization that he had held a lottery ticket worth infinity in his hand, and he had set it on fire. The conference room on the 50th floor of Sterling Vanguard was silent enough to hear a pin drop. It was 9 a.m. The sky outside was a brilliant, mocking blue after the previous night's storm. Liam Harper sat at his usual spot, but he looked like a ghost. His skin was grey, his eyes bloodshot, his hands trembling so badly he had to clasp them together on the mahogany table. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sophia taking off that mask. He saw the plain Jane he had discarded, transforming into the arbiter of his doom. Isabella sat behind him in the gallery chairs, whispering furiously into her phone, trying to calm down vendors for the upcoming victory party. She noticed Liam's state and leaned forward. "Pull it together," she hissed, her nails digging into his shoulder. "You look like a funeral director. We need to sell this deal." "Shut up, Isabella," Liam whispered, his voice cracking. "Just shut up." Before she could respond, the heavy double doors swung open. But it wasn't Miss Rose who walked in. It was Harrison Blackwood. The room gasped. The billionaire recluse never left his estate. Yet here he was, walking with a cane that looked like a weapon, flanked by 4 lawyers. Mr. Blackwood, Richard Sterling, the CEO, practically fell out of his chair. We weren't expecting you." "I'm sure you weren't," Harrison grunted, taking the seat at the head of the table. "My representative, Miss Rose, told me there was a discrepancy with the Omnitech merger. I decided to handle the termination personally." "Termination?" Liam's heart stopped. "Mr. Blackwood, surely there's a misunderstanding. The deal is solid." "Is it, Mr. Harper?" Harrison's eyes bore into him. "Miss Rose?" The side door opened. Sophia walked in. She wasn't wearing the mask. She wasn't wearing the Miss Rose disguise of thick glasses and severe hair. She was Sophia. She looked exactly as she had when she was Liam's wife, but elevated. She wore a simple, elegant cream dress, her hair loose. She looked soft, approachable, and undeniably powerful. The board members looked confused. They didn't recognize her. But Isabella did. Isabella dropped her phone. It clattered loudly on the floor. "Sophia!" she screeched. "What is the bookstore girl doing here?" Richard Sterling looked between them. "Mr. Harper, why is your ex-wife in a closed board meeting?" Sophia smiled. She walked to the front of the room and stood next to her father. "Correction, Mr. Sterling," Sophia said, her voice ringing clear. "I am not just his ex-wife. My name is Sophia Blackwood. Harrison is my father." The silence that followed was absolute. It was the sound of 20 careers flashing before 20 pairs of eyes. Richard Sterling turned pale green. "Blackwood?" Sterling choked out. You were married to the heiress of the Blackwood Trust, and you didn't tell us?" "He didn't know," Sophia said, looking at Liam with pity. "He was too busy looking at himself in the mirror to ask me about my family. He married me because he thought I was safe. A simple girl to keep his house while he chased glory." She tapped the smart screen on the wall. A video played. It was footage from the gala auction. Liam bidding $150,000. "Mr. Harper likes to spend money he doesn't have," Sophia narrated. "He tried to buy my favor with my own father's painting. But that's not the crime here." She swiped the screen. A chaotic spreadsheet appeared. "This is the real audit of Omnitech. Liam Harper knew 3 days ago that the company was a shell. There is no AI technology. It's a warehouse in New Jersey, full of empty boxes. But instead of reporting it, he hired a private investigator to blackmail the auditor so he could force the deal through and collect his $10 million bonus." The board turned on Liam instantly. They were sharks, and they smelled blood. "Is this true, Harper?" Sterling roared. "Did you try to defraud this firm?" Liam stood up, swaying. "It was a mistake. I was going to fix it. I just needed time." "You needed a payday," Harrison Blackwood's voice boomed. "You treated my daughter like a servant. You mocked her intellect. You threw her away like trash. And then you tried to steal from me." Harrison signaled to the back of the room. The doors opened again. This time it wasn't lawyers. It was 4 federal agents wearing windbreakers that said FBI, Financial Crimes Division. "Liam Harper," the lead agent said, stepping forward with handcuffs. "You are under arrest for securities fraud, wire fraud, and attempted corporate espionage." Isabella screamed. "I didn't know. I had nothing to do with it." Sophia turned to the mistress. "Sit down, Isabella. You're not under arrest. But I've reviewed your expense reports. Using the corporate card for personal spa days, you're fired. Security will escort you out. You have 5 minutes to clear your desk. Isabella burst into tears, mascara running down her face, a stark contrast to the composed woman who had stood there moments before. The agents grabbed Liam. He didn't fight. He looked at Sophia. "Sophia," he wept. "Please, I'm sorry. I loved you. We can start over. I'll sign a prenup. Just tell them to stop." Sophia walked up to him. She leaned in close, so only he could hear. "You wanted a story, Liam. You wanted a dramatic life. Now you have one. You're going to be famous. Every business school in the country will study you as the man who divorced a trillionaire to go to prison." She pulled back and nodded to the agents. "Get him out of my sight." As they dragged him out, kicking and screaming, the board of directors broke into nervous applause, terrified that they would be next. Sophia didn't smile. She just took her father's arm. "Come on, Dad," she said. "Let's go get some lunch. I know a great diner on 10th Avenue. They make the best grilled cheese." 6 months later, the visitation room at the Federal Correctional Institution in Otisville was a study in colorlessness. Everything was gray. The linoleum floors, the painted cinder block walls, the metal tables, and the jumpsuit that hung loosely on Liam Harper's frame. It had been 180 days since the boardroom doors had closed on his life. 180 days of waking up to a buzzer instead of an alarm clock. 180 days of instant coffee instead of the artisanal espresso blend he used to import from Italy. Liam sat on the hard metal stool, his hands cuffed to the table. He looked 20 years older. His hair, once styled with $40 gel, was shaved close to his scalp to prevent lice. His face was gaunt, the sharp jawline he had been so proud of, now looking skeletal under the harsh fluorescent lights. Across the plexiglass divider sat his mother, Martha. She wasn't crying anymore. She looked angry. She looked like a woman who had bet her life savings on a horse that broke its leg at the starting gate. "They took the condo, Liam," she said, her voice tinny through the phone receiver. "The Fed seized it yesterday. Asset forfeiture, they called it. Said it was purchased with ill-gotten gains. I have to move into your aunt's basement in Queens." Liam stared at his own reflection in the glass. "I'm sorry, Mum. Sorry doesn't pay the legal fees," she snapped, clutching her purse. "I watched the news this morning. Do you know what they're calling you? The billion-dollar fumbler. They're making skits about you on late-night TV." Liam flinched. The public humiliation was worse than the confinement. In prison you could hide in your cell, but out there, in the digital world, his failure was eternal. He was a meme, a cautionary tale. "Have you heard from Isabella?" Liam asked, his voice rasping. He hadn't spoken much in weeks. Martha scoffed, a cruel, sharp sound. "Isabella? She sold her story to Vanity Fair last week. My Life with a Monster, she called it. She claims she was brainwashed. She's dating a hedge fund manager now. Someone with real prospects, she said." Liam closed his eyes. The betrayal didn't sting as much as he thought it would. It just felt inevitable. He had built a life on transactional relationships, on people using people. He couldn't be surprised when the bill came due. "And her?" Liam whispered. "Sophia?" Martha's face twisted in a mix of jealousy and awe. "Don't ask. Tell me." Martha sighed and pointed to the communal television mounted in the corner of the visitation room. It was muted, but the closed captions were on. "She's everywhere, Liam. She's not just rich. She's beloved." Liam turned his head. On the screen was a live broadcast. The banner at the bottom read, "Blackwood Trust announces historic grant." There she was, Sophia. She was standing at a podium in front of the United Nations building. She wasn't wearing the intimidating power suits of Miss Rose anymore. She wore a soft, slate blue dress that made her look ethereal, but her eyes were steel. She looked powerful. She looked like a queen who had finally claimed her throne. Liam squinted to read the captions as Sophia spoke on screen. "We cannot build a future on deception. True wealth isn't in the accumulation of assets, but in the integrity of our actions. The Blackwood Trust is pledging $500 million to support financial literacy and legal aid for spouses trapped in coercive control. The camera panned out to show the crowd applauding. Standing just off stage, watching her with intense pride, was Harrison Blackwood, and next to him, Liam's heart hammered. Next to Harrison stood Cale, the head of security, but he wasn't wearing a security earpiece today. He was wearing a tuxedo. As Sophia walked off stage, Cale offered her his hand. She took it, and the smile she gave him, warm, genuine, safe, was a smile Liam realized he had never earned. "She looks happy," Liam whispered, the words tasting like ash. "She looks like $1 trillion, Martha corrected bitterly. "We could have been on that yacht, Liam. We could have been in that photo if you had just looked at her. Really looked at her." "I know," Liam said. The guard tapped his baton on the glass. "Time's up, Harper." Liam stood up. He looked at the screen one last time. Sophia was laughing at something Cale said, her head thrown back, radiant. He looked down at his cuffs. "I didn't know I was living with a diamond," he murmured to the empty air as the guard pulled him away. "I thought I needed to go mining." 2,000 miles away, the air tasted of pine needles and coming snow. The Blackwood Ranch was a sprawling estate of 30,000 acres, nestled at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. It was a place where the silence was heavy and peaceful, broken only by the sound of wind moving through the aspen trees. Sophia stood on the porch of the main lodge, holding a mug of steaming cider. The setting sun had set the sky on fire, streaks of violent orange and deep violet bruising the horizon. She took a deep breath. For 6 years, her lungs had felt constricted, tight with the anxiety of being someone she wasn't. She had made herself small to fit into Liam's narrow world. She had dimmed her light so it wouldn't blind him. Now she could breathe. Thinking about the past. The voice was deep and steady. Sophia turned. Cale was leaning against the doorframe. He wore faded denim and a flannel shirt, looking more at home here in the wild than he ever did in a Manhattan boardroom. "No," Sophia said, turning back to the mountains. "I was thinking about how strange it is. I thought destroying him would make me feel, I don't know, guilty. And does it?" Cale stepped onto the porch, standing beside her. He didn't crowd her. He just shared the space. "No," Sophia admitted. "It feels like I cut off a dead limb. It hurts a little, but mostly I just feel lighter." "He dug his own grave, Sophia," Cale said quietly. "You just handed him the shovel." Sophia took a sip of cider. "He told me once that I was an anchor, that I was holding him back from flying." Cale laughed, a low rumble in his chest. That man didn't know the difference between flying and falling. A shrill whinny echoed from the paddock. Sophia smiled. "Thunder is restless," she said. "He knows a storm is coming," Cale replied, looking at the clouds gathering over the peaks. "Or maybe he just misses his rider." Sophia set her mug down on the railing. "Let's go." 10 minutes later, they were riding. Sophia was on Midnight, a massive black stallion with a white star on his forehead. Cale rode a roan gelding. They galloped across the open fields, the tall grass whipping against the horse's legs. Sophia urged Midnight faster. The wind tore the pins from her hair, letting the gold strands fly wild behind her. She felt the raw power of the animal beneath her, the thudding of hooves against the earth, sinking with the beating of her own heart. This was who she was, not the quiet girl in the bookstore, not the Miss Rose in the boardroom. She was this, wild, unbreakable, free. They slowed down as they reached the ridge overlooking the valley. The ranch house was a small, glowing speck in the distance. Cale brought his horse alongside hers. He reached out and brushed a stray lock of hair from her face. His hand lingered for a moment on her cheek. "You okay?" he asked. Sophia looked at him. She saw a man who knew all her secrets and stayed anyway. A man who didn't want her money, just her safety. "I'm better than okay," she said. "I'm finally myself." She looked out at the vast, darkening landscape. Somewhere in a concrete cell in New York, Liam Harper was staring at a wall. But here, the world stretched on forever. "Race you to the creek?" she challenged, a mischievous spark in her eyes. "You'll lose," Cale grinned. "Try me." She kicked her heels, and the stallion surged forward, disappearing into the twilight, leaving the ghost of her past far behind in the dust. And that, my friends, is what we call the ultimate checkmate. Liam Harper spent his whole life chasing gold, never realizing he was married to the whole mine. He wanted a trophy wife, and he got a judge, jury, and executioner instead. It's a brutal reminder. When you treat people like stepping stones, don't be surprised when you lose your footing. Was Sophia's punishment too harsh, or did Liam get exactly what he deserved? I want to see your debates in the comments. If you loved this story of justice, secrets, and high-stakes karma, please smash that like button and subscribe. We drop new stories every week. Next time, we've got a story about a woman who discovers her poor husband is actually the landlord of her entire building. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.